Hello there, Surfrom17 once again. This is a demo walkthrough for the game Fashion Police Squad. It is played on PC, I'm using mouse and keyboard, and it is available right now on Steam, guys. And it is this rather charming, rather silly, first-person shooter with a lot of retro inspirations that is doing some really cool things, and I want to share it with my channel because I'm kind of smitten with it. And the idea here, guys, is you play as a fashion police officer, and you are going out and punishing people for crimes against fashion. And you start off with this paint shotgun, and then from there you're going to get a couple of other tools as well. And in the demo you can play the first 3 levels. You can do 2 levels and then a final boss level as you move on through the game. And I don't know when this comes out, it's currently in wishlist territory. And I'm just really excited because it's kind of silly, it's kind of irreverent in a really fun, stupid way. And it's got some nice chops too. The mouse feels good, the frames feel good, the movement feels good, and it's emphasizing a different side of a shooter that I've not seen in a while, which is just the idea of not every shooter needs to be a military shooter or some kind of super serious, realistic thing. And the idea here is you shoot these people with your paint gun and you give them a nice makeover. And the first enemy that they introduce is this salaryman looking dude who's wearing a dull grey suit, so you have to zhuzh him up a little bit while he tries to throw his briefcase at you. And the demo does a nice way of kind of eking you into the systems and introducing the new mechanics. There are secrets to be found, there is armor to be picked up, and there is also a fabulous mode that you can go into to do a whole host of damage really quickly. And you'll notice that I'm trimming out a decent amount of the tutorials and the dialogues here. If you play the game yourself, you can enjoy them, they're fun enough, but for the purpose of this video, I wanted to trim most of them out as we get the first secret there and we move on. But I'd not seen this game until I think it was Megasonic on my Discord mentioned that it looked pretty sweet, and I checked the demo out immediately and I was really impressed. And here is the first of the new mechanics where you get to aim at the fire hydrants and it drains into your gun the colour. It's also a fire mode that you'll use against people that are on these mobile scooters. But there's an interesting mechanic going on with that like suction laser, Ghostbuster laser, whatever you want to call it, where it gives you a bit of aim assist as you do it to keep you on target. And this demo doesn't have any conventional difficulties, but I'm hoping in the main game, if you put any kind of higher difficulty on, then it doesn't aim for you, because I really want it to work like the lightning gun, or like the lightning weapon in Quake Champions, where it rewards really good tracking, but you have to be super precise. That to me is a skill weapon, you know, and the fact that it gives you that little bit of an assist is something that I wish I could turn off, because I want to learn to aim myself. I don't want the game to do it for me, you know. But you can't seem to do it on any enemy that you want at the moment. It doesn't seem to be the way that goes for some reason. You can only do it on one enemy, and I really like the idea of testing your tracking, especially in a game that's quite fast and silly like this. But we got the key. The key is in the form of some scissors, and we're going to cut this ribbon, and as you move forward it's going to introduce the new enemy types to us. And I really like the idea of picking up mocktails in order to give yourself HP. But here is the first of these scooter guys on the phone, and you'll notice I'm not quite on him, and it's giving me credit for being on him. So it's quite a generous assist for people that need it. But you know me, guys, I want to achieve as much as I can when I'm playing, and I want my tracking to be really sick, and at the moment it's kind of trash. So giving me an assist just makes me pity myself and feel bad, and it just reminds me that I am a shame on my family. But we take him out, we get the next secret here. I get all the secrets in the first level, but I don't do it in the second level because it's not meant to be a secret video, but I like wandering around and exploring. I'm really hoping that the level variety in this game is going to have you going to some really interesting places and incentivizing the mobility, because at the moment you pick up swag for your armor, you pick up mocktails for HP, and I don't really know if there's going to be any incentives to find anything else. The starting weapon here, this shotgun, you might be wondering why I don't seem to be firing it that much. It has a really strict firing cap, so it fires twice, and then it stops for a while, and then it fires twice again. And how this works with the weapons is, each enemy has a specific weakness. If you shoot them with something that's not their weakness, you won't do anything. They want you to use your tools at the right times, rather than having a jack-of-all-trade tool. So the scooter guy has to be lasered, and the standard salarymen have to be hit with the shotgun. And I hope that the shotgun gets upgrades so that you can shoot it a bit more. Because my one criticism of this whole demo is that I feel like the base weapon feels a bit frustrating to use because you spend less time shooting than I'd like. But here is the fabulous mode. I'm only going to use this once. You do a wonderful jumping, pirouetting split, and then you slap the shit out of everyone with this teleport slap that's absolutely amazing. And it's just really fun to do it too. The music's catchy, you're kicking ass, you're just completely overpowered and broken, and then by the end of it you're too busy dancing around and seeing all the havoc that you've caused and all the wonderful improvements in people's outfits. But there's a tutorial for it. After the tutorial we're going to be regrouping, and I think that this is the end of the first level. So, not too long the levels, very silly, and then moving onwards to the cop car. I wonder if it's going to have any driving sequences. Like, there's so much they could do with this. And then at the end, when you get the mission complete screen, you get a fashion parade to show you all the people that you improved when it comes to their stylistic choices. And everybody comes out here in their awesome, glistening suits, feeling all snazzy and fabulous. And it's just really dumb, in a great way. And then you get your ranking there, your time, your crimes solved, your swag, and your secrets. There doesn't seem to be any rank at the moment, but I really hope that there is. I love the idea of having ranking systems in all games, especially ones that have got detailed mechanics and the ability to replay for better ones. But here is the second one. We're off to Sheeple Park, murking a couple of standard salary guys, looking around the area. There's a lot of freedom for mobility when it comes to the jumping, and I'm hoping that you're going to need it in the game. Because one of the things I love the most about arcade shooters is that they force you to do things that shooters have seemingly forgotten. And I like fast, I like speed, you know. I like jumping, I like mobile, I like tricky. And if this game can nail a few of those concepts, I'm going to be very, very happy. And it's good aim practice as well. If you're new to mouse and keyboard and you're trying to learn it, you know, there's certain games obviously going to be better than others, and any game that you can spend a lot of the time aiming rather than doing everything else is a really, really good idea for practice. And there's a nice combination of tracking and flicking and just standard mouse control going on here that you can have fun with it. But it's going to introduce a new guy coming up. There's a handful of enemy types in this beta. I say beta, it's like a pre-alpha thing. And this is one of them here. So this area is in black and white, it's all monochrome because apparently these bulletin boards that are advertising taxes have turned the world into They Live on 1984 or something. And we need to paint over the propaganda in order to bring vibrancy back to the world. So this could be really interesting as well, because I wonder if maybe on the harder difficulties, when the area is grey like this, if it gives the baddies some kind of buff. This could be the equivalent of perhaps the Doom Eternal buff totem. Imagine if there was an enemy type that used graffiti and ran around spraying propaganda, and the more propaganda that he built up, the more the enemies got buffed. You know, the cool thing about this game, because it is so silly and fashion-centric, you could use all kinds of stupid enemy types to make the game more interesting, and I really hope that they do. Because every so often, guys, you'll play a game where it tickles your fancy and it tickles your imagination. This is a new enemy type, this is a big guy. The only way to stop the big guy is to swap to it is a stitching weapon. I forget the name of it. Is it Tailor Made it's called? And then you hit him with pins and needles from this sewing machine, and it takes out the big guy. But that's the only enemy that it works on, this guy here. If you use it on anybody else, it will not do damage. So you have to swap between your laser, your colour shotgun, and your stitching machine. And it's just this idea of swapping to the correct tool and using it to beat the enemies having a very specific weakness, and then the idea of just how many enemies there can be, all the cool weaknesses they can have, the cool pros they can have, the cool weapons you could use to kill them. It really makes me think of all kinds of things, because I'm always looking for what's next in genres, you know. I want the genres to evolve, I want them to bring new things. And this is by no means a new thing, but they're doing something interesting, and they're doing it in an old school manner which really resonates with me. And so many games I play nowadays that think that they're doing new things and they're trailblazing and they're trend setting, and they do sweet fuck all. It's just proliferated nonsense. And here's the belt. So this is your melee attack, and you can charge this while you move. So you can constantly have your belt charged to unleash a stunning lashing hit. And it also breaks boxes and can be used as a swinging tool, like a grappling hook. So the belt is multi-purpose, and you can use it while shooting, which is really nice. And I'm a big fan of hand independence in shooters, because it reminds me of Bioshock 2, where you could constantly have two different things on the screen at the same time. And you had twice the firepower and twice the setups if you were good at multitasking. And games should reward your ability to do things, and to do things well, you know? And this is another good example of that as we move into this square right now. And you'll notice we have the bulletin boards making it grey, we have the heavies that we need to stitch, we have the salaryman that I'm whipping and then hitting with the shotgun with the paint. I can't hit them with anything else though because it tells me that it doesn't work. And it's all about the right tool for the right job, and then we can get rid of the propaganda. But it's just... I streamed this as well, guys. I played it on my stream, so you might have seen this before. But for you YouTube guys that don't come over, I wanted to share it because I just think there's a joy from playing something simple and silly and fun, and I definitely got it for this game. And knowing my luck, it'll be 25 years in early access and wishlistable, and then when it finally does come out, I'll forget about it and not even remember it existed. Or maybe it'll come out and I'll be really, really into a different type of game and I don't want to play first-person shooters. Because have you noticed that, folks? Whenever you want to play something, if you're not in the right mood for it, it can be the worst experience ever and you totally shouldn't do it. And sometimes you try to force it and it doesn't work. And then there'll be times when you're super in the mood for something, but everyone else is in the mood for something else. And you just can't seem to sync up with everyone, your friends or people that you play with, or even your own brain sometimes. You feel like you should be into something, you should be able to play something, but you just can't face it and don't want to. I think that must be a form of video game fatigue, right? We've got to the point where we've played so much and we're so kind of used to video games now that if they don't tickle that fancy, it just becomes mundane. And anything that's mundane is going to outstay its welcome and start to become infuriating and irritating. But here is Deepcoat. This guy's probably going to be the merchant. He's going to have all kinds of cool things for us later on, I'm hoping. He's got the wonderful noir smoke going on, and the overcoat, and the hat, and the pun. But now that we've got the scissors, we can cut our way past the next barrier. But I'm going to do a little bit of platforming here to pick up these swags, and over there there's a watch, which is extra swag. And I wonder if there'll be more swag, because I like the idea of finding treasure and being rewarded. Like, one of my favourite games to find treasure in is Luigi's Mansion, because the whole game is designed around you essentially skimming the living shit out of a very ornate house. And there's something beautiful about sucking the fillings out of an ancient museum. Just literally gilding everything you can, dude. Taking it, pilfering it, stealing it, robbing it. It's just a wonderful sensation of just being as frugal as possible with what you take with you. And I don't think enough games have something to collect that has some kind of value, especially for scoring. Scoring seems to have gone the way of the dinosaurs, doesn't it, recently? Nowadays it's all microtransactions and battle passes and all this kind of... These trailers that look better than the games will ever look, and then the game comes out and it looks nothing like the trailer. Like, I like score modes, you know, I like collectibles, I like points. I like the arcade sensibilities that built this industry. And so many games now simply just don't entertain them. They look at it as a kind of draconian sensibility that shouldn't exist. It's Japanese design, we don't need it in the West. We have these slow walk sequences where people talk to you, and these mandatory driving segments where someone talks to you, and the whole thing is just an excuse to have somebody talk ad nauseum at you while you aren't playing the game. But watch this. This is my favourite part of the demo, because it shows you that there's going to be more than just standard shooting. And of course you can use your belt in a swagtastic manner to do all kinds of crazy platforming. And the platforming is only a little nugget there, but that tells you so much about what you might find in the full game. And it really excites me for the idea of an arena that has all kinds of mobility that you can use. And I didn't talk about the vape pen guy. So the Vapor that we just saw there, which you probably saw the tooltip on the screen, he comes along blowing bubbles at you, and you have to whip him, and he takes, I think, 2 whips or 1 charged whip. So if you use any guns on him, they will not work. But if you use your belt, you'll whip his ass. And it's just... I love this idea of use this tool for this job, and I know some people look at that as maybe a limiting factor, but to me, it's juggling your moveset and making you use things you wouldn't normally use. And I think if you do it the right way and you make it feel natural enough, it's not going to feel like Doom Eternal, where, you know, they introduced enemies just so that you would use mods that you'd never use because you didn't really like them. And I kind of feel like Doom Eternal was better when you could kill some of those enemies with like the chain gun dash. Whoops. Yeah, be careful here, guys. If you go too fast, sometimes the detection turns off and you'll fall, but the checkpoint's really, really quick, which is nice. But some people thought that Eternal had a limited player space, you know, for player creativity. And I feel like the people that say that about Doom Eternal are the people that read those tooltips and literally only did the tooltips. They didn't realise that you can ignore all of those tooltips and fight enemies how you wish to. There are a few enemies in that game, once you're good enough, that you can't just have a ball with. And I think it's that kind of myopia that's the reason why that game got a lot of people saying that you have to play it one way. And I think that's kind of an icebreaker, that, isn't it? You know, when you're talking to somebody you don't know, if they're the type of player that says you can only play Doom Eternal one way, you know that anything else that comes out of their mouth is probably full of shit. And you know to ignore them and get on with your life. And sometimes it's good to have that, you know, it cuts through all the nonsense. But this is the biggest fight in the game here. It is quite a large courtyard that has a bunch of different enemy types for you to swap between. And you can multitask with your belt and what have you, and circle strafe to your heart's content. It's very safe if you move in circles. We learnt this from Serious Sam and pretty much every shooter before that. But whip the guy with his pants down, shoot the salarymen, stitch up the big guys, and onward onto victory. You can use your fabulous power here and just wreck everybody with the slap, but I wanted to show you guys the mechanics, and now we get to enter the office of Hugo Boss. And this is the end of the second mission. So the only thing left now is to enter the tower and do the boss fight. But I'm having a look around because I know this is the end and I want to make sure that there's nothing sneaky we've not seen. And there's so many games right now coming out on PC in wishlist format that have got little demos and things that are really, really fun, and I'm super looking forward to the full release. But that was level 2, 65 crimes solved. We missed out on some swag and we missed out on some secrets. I wonder if you can whip swag off of people. So if there'll be some kind of setup there where you have to whip everyone with your belt before you kill them to get maximum swag in a run. And it turns it into, you know, using UTs instead of ETs to get maximum points in Ninja Gaiden Karma running. But here's the final location. To the left is the only secret of the level, and directly forward there is the boss. And the boss is this huge kingpin looking fellow that jumps around throwing bullion at you. And there's two different bullion hits. There's one that's very directed and there's one that's spread. And I think one of them is high and one of them is low, so you can duck one of them and you can jump over another one. You can strafe this one just by doing it standard, and you can also hide behind his chair. So if you don't want to do any dodging or do any bullet hell, getting between the bars and things, you can just block it with a piece of geometry. And none of the weapons seem to do anything to this guy other than the paint gun. I feel like the belt is just not really doing anything. And I'm hoping that the bosses have more to them than this one, purely based off the fact that I like the idea of being able to exploit weaknesses and do fun things with bosses, and this guy just seems like a bit of a tank. And there's always the epiphany that I'm playing wrong and I missed his weakness and didn't figure out the cool way to fight him. But it just seems like use paint gun to get to half health, he pulls out the dudes, use the stitch gun, and then just finish him off, and then when he gets into the last quarter he summons a bunch of guys. But luckily he doesn't do a lot of damage with his hits, because you can't play on any kind of difficulty. And I'll be really curious to see in the full game what the difficulties do. Because if this game does difficulty really well, I can't wait to play it. But here comes the massive executive call of dudes. So get rid of the bigger threat here, which is the big fellow with the stitching gun. And then put everybody else down if you can. There's two guys on balconies, they're both big boys. So make sure to swap to the tailor-made to put them down. There's the first one. There's that one just there. And then there's the one on the right balcony. Oh, he's not a big boy. My mistake. He's actually just hit him with the paint shotgun. And then Hugo Boss is going to start attacking you again. And it's time to give him some more fashion tips. But this chair here, really good at blocking the gold. You could probably do a no damage run here just by using the chair for safety. But I didn't want to do that, you know. This is more about just showing the game than showing off. And then a couple more pumps and he should be down. And there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is the end of Hugo Boss, the first boss in the campaign. He's now going to be far more stylish there with the Patrick Bateman suit. He's got the nice securing tie clip, or whatever they call those things that make sure that the tie remains flat and connected to the shirt. He just looks like an absolute beast, doesn't he? And now we get to see the parole ball as he comes out throwing all his money away. Very classy, sir. But there you go, guys. That is the end of my Fashion Police Squad demo playthrough. 13 crimes solved, 2 swags, 1 secret, 2 minutes 42. And there's the end of the demo. So, thank you for watching, guys, and you take care now.